Where the issue is on abilities is actually class abilities. All I'm saying is power creep is a real thing, and we're definitely in the thick of it. And the problem is that it's only gonna get thicker. With every single 3.0 introduction of our subclasses, these issues are only going to elevate. Man, oh man, who could have saw that coming? 8 months ago, we made this video, and all we had to go on back then was one 3.0 subclass, and it was Void 3.0. I made that video April the 18th, way before we ever experienced classy restoration, way before airborne effectiveness. But this video is not us patting ourselves on the back, we're just acknowledging what we all saw coming. And if I could predict other things in my life right now, as good as I predict Destiny Sandbox, my God, I wouldn't be down 69% for the year on Tesla. But still, nice. With that being said, we need to talk about what everyone is already talking about. Destiny 2's PvP being in shambles, or so they say. Now, this video that we made well over 8 months ago was a video about how to save Destiny 2's PvP, and also to give acknowledgement to some of the wins that Bungie had accomplished up until that point. I think one of the biggest ones was, of course, breaking our supers up into tiers. This immediately shifted things around, and it's why you've seen the rise of support supers, bubbles, and things like Zone Trials, Well of Radiance. You see, back before there were tier supers, everyone just went with the highest kill super that they could go for. And there was really no balance here. But breaking things up into tiers has sort of brought balance to the force. Granted, I think when it comes to our lowest tier supers, the fact that sometimes you can't even get that super in a 4-4 game inside of Trials is crazy to me. Now understand, 8 months ago, everyone's biggest concern back then was actually special weapons. Everyone was saying that, oh my God, people are using special weapons so much. You have hoppity hop hunters on stompies, and you were just starting to see small glimpse of where the meta was going. And that glimpse being class abilities. You see, all along, guys, I felt like this was going to be a problem. Bungie likes to work off of past data, most notably Destiny 1 data. And it took them a very, very long time to arrive at a balanced sandbox for supers and a balanced sandbox for grenades. Dude, back inside of Destiny 1, we had one-hit sticky grenades. Literally, all you had to do was throw a grenade, which, by the way, would magnetize to your body with ease and would one-hit kill you. And Bungie looked at that and said, yep, that's balanced. We had self-res warlocks inside of Trials, and it took them a long time to really rein those in. But you guys remember Viking Funeral? There were so many times I would run around a corner to just burn out and die. Now, my observation at the time was that Bungie had already been down this road before when it came to supers and to grenades. And considering they were expanding grenades to all of our subclasses, allowing that to be universally swapped out, I felt like Bungie had a good grasp on those abilities. And with the tier supers, I felt like Bungie also had another way to bring balance to those abilities. But what they have not been able to accomplish is balancing class abilities. We had a Trials card this past weekend, which was literally us playing every single game against Barricade Titans, popping barricades over and over and over, whether it's Titans, over shields being applied to them and their teammates. And look, this isn't just something specific to Titans, but it's definitely something more noticeable in things like Zone Control, Trials of Osiris, where the whole goal is just to stay alive and cap zones. You see teams that are just rocking bubbles win out game after game simply because they're staying alive and they're hiding behind their barricades. And eventually, one team loses enough patience that they make the mistake of breaking cover and actually pushing, which punishes them. Now, Bungie recently just nerfed invisibility, as there were so many hunters pre-invis nerf that were just running around constantly going invisible. And you still see people going invisible now, but again, they nerfed the radar range. But guys, let's be real. Between invisibility, between barricades, between warlock healing rifts, we live in a sandbox now where PvP consists of disengagement. 1v1s are not 1v1s. It's you peek for a second to get a kill, and the moment you take any slight amount of damage, you run away. You run away and you pop either your class ability to heal yourself, or you pop your class ability to hide behind, or you pop your class ability to roll on the ground and grant yourself health back with things like Worm Husk. Classy Restoration was a great example of this getting way out of hand. But now that we have all 3.0 subclasses out in front of us here, with no artifact mods aiding it, it's very apparent to see that class abilities are a problem, because as of now, they drive passive play. Now, there's a couple of things contributing to this as well. The overall sandbox has definitely moved over to more passive play weapons. DMT is the #1 weapon in Trials of Osiris yet again. Now, I do partly feel responsible for this. I said that DMT needed a buff again, of which it did. Guys, after the nerf back inside of September, it was bad. It needed some love, especially inside of PvE. And it still needs love inside of PvE. But inside of PvP, it's back to being a monster. No Time to Explain is at the top of the list. A number of other pulse rifles have now entered the fray, including Revision 0, which is evolving week after week. And by the way, guys, this pulse rifle, if it isn't already meta in your hands, it will eventually be meta. By the time we get to the 4th version of Revision 0, it will dominate much of Crucible. It's got a 4-round burst mode that competes against other pulse rifles like No Time to Explain, and it's got a 2-round burst mode that can go toe-to-toe with Dead Man Stealth. And with a single click of a button, this weapon also turns into a sniper rifle. Now, what does this exotic amongst these other pulse rifles and scout rifles bring to the table? Passivity, aka laning Larrys. Now, the comments normally surround pulse rifles as, oh my god, you're a dad for using a pulse rifle. Statement that I took pride in because, well, I'm actually a dad. And back in the day, I didn't mind saying I rocked pulse rifles because not many people were rocking pulse rifles inside of PvP. Hand cannons were the dominant meta. But if there's one weapon type that was definitely affected a lot here over the past year with the airborne effectiveness changes, it's hand cannons, man. I think it surprised everyone how much they actually take to the air when using a hand cannon. And it doesn't matter what class you're on, whether you're Warlock, Hunter, or even a Titan. In-air gameplay and hand cannons just go hand in hand, no pun intended. Pulse rifles and scout rifles though, these weapons definitely benefited from the AE changes. You're always on the ground. Matter of fact, one of the biggest complaints I had when talking about sandbox in certain weapons like pulse rifles and auto rifles and even scout rifles is that there was too much of an accuracy penalty when moving, most notably high impact weapons, as intrinsically high impacts are supposed to give you more accuracy while stationary. And any type of strafing that would occur in the past would actually result in inaccuracies. Here recently though, that's actually been rectified, which is why you've seen No Time to Explain back on the rise again. No Time to Explain is actually considered a high impact weapon. Vigilance Wing is another exotic that's also considered a high impact weapon, at least based on its impact. Long story short, guys, you're able to be more mobile with these weapons, or at least strafe with them. But to be quite clear, we live in a sandbox now where strafing or even engaging punishes you, which is why so many people just stay in a lane. Crucible to me, guys, between the passive gunplay, the overwhelming amount of class abilities, and the team grouping that is occurring, especially in 6v6, think about how many engagements you find yourself into inside of 6v6 Crucible, where it's like a 1v3 or a 1v4. It's a snowball effect. And you know what else had a snowball effect? You know what sandbox or what time frame of Destiny had a snowball, or what some people call a death ball sandbox? Destiny 2 Year 1. Destiny 2 Year 1 was not about how well you could shoot. Everything was nerfed. Your movement was nerfed. The TTK of all your weapons were nerfed. You didn't have special weapons. You simply had primary weapons, most with extended time to kill values. The meta back in Year 1 of Destiny 2 was not how well you can engage, but how well you could stay with your team. And we have slowly but surely fallen back into that. Now, how do we fix this issue, Cross? Well, 8 months ago, the solutions I really gave was based on a sandbox that had not had airborne effectiveness introduced to it. And I know everybody's like, oh my God, Cross, you're still talking about AE. I'm actually not, because we do know AE is being addressed. We complained and complained and complained, and finally, it's getting addressed. Primary weapons should eventually be back to pre-AE levels, or so Bungie says, and this should be occurring in Lightfall. If we're lucky, it may even occur halfway through the season. And I think that's going to do a lot to drive aggressive play yet again. Taken to the air with that primary weapon will no longer be punishable. It can be, but you can do so more effectively at some point in the future, which is going to drive a lot more aggressive play. Again, most of us, especially that like to take to the air, we do so with like a risk-taking mentality. Like, I know I'm not going to get the entire team, but if I can get one, maybe two people, I've succeeded, and I'll continue taking to the air yet again. And when you continually have someone on your team or on the opposing team constantly pushing into a group of enemies successfully with aggression, this will break up that passivity. There's like certain portions of a game every time I join like a 6v6 game or something where I spend like the first few minutes just breaking that passive play. I mean, I just completely just throw myself right into the mix of enemies, trying to break them apart, because once they get into this human centipede mindset, it's almost impossible to win, and it's infuriating to go against. It's like war of attrition. It's trench warfare, man. This is World War I. Nobody likes that here. We want to square up. I think AE being reversed for primary weapons is going to have a profound effect. Again, though, I don't know if it's coming halfway through the season. It's very likely Bungie wants to see it with Strand first and then roll back AE, as Strand is really going to put us all in aerial gameplay. Now, as far as class abilities go, to me, this is a simple fix. Class abilities or exotics that benefit off of class abilities, aka Science, also Wormhusk. Again, not all of them, but some of the more egregious cases like that, extend the class ability cooldown when wearing those exotics specifically. So you have a default cooldown for your class ability. That's still the same tier 1 to tier 10. But say you have max mobility on your hunter, which drives the cooldown of your class ability, and you apply Wormhusk. That should immediately double the class ability cooldown so that you cannot keep using it over and over again in every engagement. And guys, I thought of this fix way back when Loreley was the meta. meta. And Loreley is still very, very good. But that's another example. Any of these class ability related exotics, and we do have a number of them, but the more egregious cases extend the cooldown on our class abilities when using said exotics. Sure, you can keep the level of potency that they present, but you just don't give that opposing player the option to use it in every single engagement. Now, this does bring up things like barricade titans that sit around their barricades and constantly proc overshields over and over. I've actually seen some great suggestions, like class ability energy for titans doesn't begin regeneration until the barricade breaks. That's a pretty good one. And understand, guys, this is going to happen. It is. I fully believe the class abilities that we see that are out of hand now will be dealt with. Take Empowering Rifts, for instance. We used to run around one-shot body shotting with aggressive snipers and Ariana's Vow and a number of other things, and Bungie went in there and nerfed Empowering Rifts on Warlocks. Unfortunately, that nerfed like the aggressive play, because at least you were playing or engaging. Bungie hasn't really nerfed passive play enough, and I'm really hoping the AE changes or reversal to AE for primary weapons is going to fix this. Another way to fix this, and we brought this up and everyone thought we were crazy, was 150 round per minute hand cannons. Dude, you want to go ahead and break things up big time? Bring back 150 round per minute hand cannons and simultaneously pair that with the reversal of the AE changes, and boom, you're about to have an extremely aggressive meta. Watch what I say, guys. If Bungie ever was bold enough to bring back 150s, which I highly doubt they ever would, we made an entire video about it because I think that would actually aid in bringing aggressive play back inside of Crucible. And understand, back in the day, outside of consolidated hand cannons, a huge reason why Bungie did this was because they thought that 150 round per minute hand cannons were just too powerful. That had 0.8 second time to kill value, they were great dueling weapons, and you can also use them very easily from within the air. But dude, so many things have happened since then. Pulse rifles have the best TTK values across the board. SMGs are fantastic. Even post AE changes, SMGs are still fantastic. All I'm saying is that if Bungie really wanted to shake things up, boy, throw us a 150 round per minute hand cannon and let it fly. Granted, that defeats the entire purpose of Rose being a hybrid 140. Either way it goes, what I'm banking on more than anything, guys, is that the AE changes being reversed for primary weapons is going to fix a lot of your frustrations. And as far as class abilities go, that is something that's gonna have to be personally catered from exotic to exotic. These exotics that are benefiting the user for using their class abilities with no serious drawback to things like cooldowns, that's gonna be something Bungie has to finally tune. And they could tune this in between PvE and PvP. We've seen it multiple times before. So for my guys inside of PvE, they're like, no, not my worm husk. Listen, calm down. It's okay. Bungie could do these things selectively. It's just completely up to Bungie whether or not they want to do it. Overall, guys, this is my thoughts on the current state of Destiny's Crucible. If you're frustrated by the passive play inside of Destiny, this is where learning broken builds can really benefit you. Have I introduced you to Dead Messenger with Karnstein armlets, with Lightning Surge? See, everybody hates us when we make abilities like this, but at least we're playing aggressive, dang it. But if you have any other suggestions down below, like serious suggestions, feel free to comment them. We're all ears, man. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.